Good morning. Welcome to the Long Live Alternative Parties podcast. Free Press Media Press Inc., an alternative parties books publisher, sponsors this podcast. I'm Andrew Bouchard. Welcome to Long Live Alternative Parties podcast. Today, friends, we have another exciting guest on the podcast like we always do. His name is Elijah Stanfield. He represents what he called the birthday party, and he also represents a nonprofit organization that's doing exciting stuff. So we plan to talk about both those things today. So welcome to the podcast, Elijah.
Thanks, Andrew. Good to be with you.
Good to have you. So Elijah, if you get started by kindly giving us an introduction to yourself, a brief biographical sketch.
Sure. My name is Elijah Stanfield. I was born in Richland, Washington, and I just recently moved to Tennessee just a month or so ago. I have been a video and animation producer for about over 15 years, maybe getting closer to 20 years. For the last 10 years, I've been illustrating a children's book series called the Tuttle Twins. And father of 6, happily married and doing well.
6?
Yeah.
Wow.
My oldest is about 22, and my youngest is 9, almost 9. So.
Okay, so they all don't live with you then?
Yeah.
Okay, are they a mix of boys and girls, or how does that work?
Yeah, most of them are boys, but I got a couple girls.
Okay, interesting. Wow. Congrats on raising all those kids.
Yeah, thanks.
So if you could please tell our audience about the way I found you was through the birthday party. So can briefly describe that for our audience?
Yeah, so let's see, that I would bet that got started probably around 2008. I just made a post on a page on Facebook a long time ago. This was following the Ron Paul campaign, which I was involved in, the 2007-2008 Ron Paul campaign. And after what I saw with the Republican Party, I went through all the channels, became a precinct officer, went through the state. I didn't go to the national convention, but I did the process, and I quickly realized that the party was not set up to be a democratic, bottom-up type of system. It was definitely a top-down system. And for you to make change in that party, you had to basically sell out the whole way until you became a leader. And this is what people, perceive that's what politicians have to do, is sell out. And I just didn't realize how quickly you had to sell out in order to kind of become a participant of the Republican Party. So following that experience, I just thought I'd, put, almost as a joke, I named it the birthday party, just to, see if I could get a group of, I don't know if it was like-minded. What I realized during the Ron Paul thing was that there's the two major parties seem to be the war party, the corporatist party, the special interest party, and the corrupt party. And the common man, everybody else seemed to have goals that weren't in line with those. So, why can't we find a party or create? Why can't these groups of people, this large mass of people, the general population, get together and do with these two parties that actually don't represent them? So I just started this birthday party. It only ended up getting 100 people following it. It didn't really turn into anything. But what I guess the premise of the birthday party was anti-aggressive war, pro individual liberty, and anti-corporate special interest. Type of thing. So those seem to be the goals of a lot of people that were my friends and my family. Even though we all came from different political points of view, those were our goals. So I thought that we might be able to find some commonality within those goals. So that's how it started, and that's basically how it ended.
Okay. Sounds like that's similar to the Libertarian Party, the ideas you presented.
Yeah, I looked into the Libertarian Party after the Ron Paul campaign in 2007, and even then it seemed like I didn't quite fit exactly with that party, the Gary Johnsons. And I did look into the Green Party and all these alternate parties, and that's where I started to think, like, we have a lot of common enemies. You know, we understand that there's a banker class, that's also the war class, and if we could just get the alternate parties, the Constitution Party, the Green Party, the Libertarian Party, all these parties, they seem to have the same idea that there's this Leviathan state that is married to corporate special interests that's basically oppressing us. Why can't we get those alternative minds, which actually represent the general population? I think that's what generally people want, is to do away with that type of system. So, yeah. So that's kind of where I started to break away from like this Republican Democrat type of mindset.
Okay, that sounds good. So this leads us up to today. What are you involved with today? You touched on it on the start of the podcast. You said you were illustrating that Tuttle Twins book series. I have never heard of that before as part of my ignorance, so maybe some audience members haven't either. So kindly explain to us what that is all about.
Yeah, so following my political involvement, what I realized is that the reason why these people can't get together is because even though our goals might be similar, the means to achieve those goals are radically different. And when I learned about quote-unquote libertarianism or classical liberalism, or the John Lockean worldview, then I started to realize that we need to bring those principles, those thoughts, those ideas of individual sovereignty and the role of government back to the minds of the people before anything significant could happen, before any real political change could happen. So the Tuttle Twins is an effort to talk about economic principles, talk about political principles, talk about social principles, and talk about history. So each of these books, there's 13 books in the main series now. They're each based off of classical works like Frederick Bastiat's The Law. We have lots of books, Road to Serfdom, I Pencil, The Creature from Jekyll Island. Just all of these things really based. So Connor Boyack's the author, and he and I partnered up to make these books. And what we really try to do is reach for those books, those essays, those ideas that really kind of like planted a seed in our own minds and kind of like freed us to see the world differently. And we're putting them into illustrated children's books, which are actually useful for the whole family. They tend to be more of a family books. So families can have discussions about these. Usually, I guess traditionally thought of as deeper or more intellectually complicated ideas, but we're just breaking them down into simple terms, fully illustrated and things like that. And since then, we also have some series of teen books. We have two series of teen books actually, Choose Your Own Adventure style book, fictional, and then we have some nonfiction guidebooks. We have 6 baby books, toddler board books, and now our latest venture is history books, early American history. The first 2 books go from approximately, I would say, the Silk Road, Christopher Columbus, up through the ratification of the Bill of Rights. So
Oh.
the first 2 volumes that we've done of the history book, we sold about 5 million books total. And we've been doing that for about 10 years, and we hope to keep spreading those messages. And I think eventually we get a large portion of the population that understands the value of their freedom and their liberty, and and with those numbers, I think people can be more courageous about standing up for those and pushing for them to be implemented into government policy.
Sure. So it sounds like you're making these complex economic subjects accessible to youth and families.
Yeah, and we also say, and congressmen, because obviously they've never read any economic books.
So the Tuttle twins, their characters, are they young people? What are they like?
Yeah, the Tuttle twins, Ethan and Emily Tuttle, they're 9-year-olds, and they're a boy and a girl. They have a mom and dad, and they have neighbors, they have friends. They just kind of have these adventures every book that give them opportunities to learn about the world around them. Okay.
So how does it work with copyrights since you're adapting works like The Road to Serfdom? Do you have to write the publishers to get the rights, or how does that work?
For some of the people that are still living, and they're ones that have or living relatives, or they're not, we do try to make a phone call to make sure that people are okay with it, and typically they're overjoyed that we're going to be doing something like that. So it also promotes their books. At the end of the book, we kind of promote their book for more advanced reading.
Okay, sure. So are these sold mostly through your website, or are they sold in bookstores, or where are people buying these?
I believe you can find them on Amazon, but they're usually more expensive there, and we can't give you proper customer service. But if you just go to TuttleTwins.com, you'll see all of our products in multiple languages too. I think we have 12 languages.
Oh wow!
For a lot of our products. So yeah, and we have a lot more products coming your way. So yeah, TuttleTwins.com. Also, you can follow us on all the social medias.
Okay, sounds good. So if you can recall off the top of your head, which languages did you choose to translate them into?
Let me see if I can. Well, what we usually do is we wait for someone of interest in that language, in that country, or something that says we want to have these books in our country, and they become our representative. They help us with translation, and they help us with distribution in those countries. So we're definitely in Spanish, Portuguese. I think we've done one in Mandarin, maybe just a couple books. Swedish, German. I can't believe we're up to 12. Yeah, I can't even. There's a lot.
Okay, that's a good start.
Korean, Japanese. Yeah. There's 12 of them, but I just don't even know how they are. So.
Okay. So how does that work in China? Because is the government there okay with you translating these into that?
Well, I don't know if we've distributed to China yet. I think we have 1 or 2 issues in Mandarin, but those might be for. I think that's probably a limited. We made a limited order just in case, but maybe just for the States or.
Oh, so the people who over here may have emigrated and they speak it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works, but I'm pretty sure. I don't believe we have customers in China. I might be wrong about that, but.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good. 12 languages is awesome.
But of course, there's Hong Kong. I guess that's under Chinese rule now too. But
there you go.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, good point. So the organization that is sponsoring this project, you said, is called Libertas, right?
Yeah.
What is the organization about?
Yeah, sure. So Connor Boyack, he's the author of the books, and he about the same time we started the Tuttle Twins, had started a nonprofit. It's a policy group in Utah, advocating for lower taxes and private property, individual liberty in Utah. And he had already set up this nonprofit structure there, and so we've kind of built the Tuttle Twins off of that as an umbrella, because early on we decided that we weren't going to the profit that was made from the Tuttle Twins, we wanted to roll that back into spreading the message. We felt that was more important than us, buying a house in Maui or anything, but Florida or anything like that. We both live modestly, and it's only been in the last few years that we haven't had other need to have outside work.
Oh, good for you.
So yeah, we've just been putting that money back into the books, and through the nonprofit, which can help us be more effective and efficient with the profits. So. Sure.
So besides the Tuttle Twins, what other types of activities does the nonprofit do?
Yeah, so Libertas, we've had a lot of success in Utah doing police reforms and accountability, and they've been a part of a lot of education. They basically deal in everything. The medical cannabis in Utah was due largely to their involvement. So they're basically a lobbyist group, but they lobby to get rid of laws or to downsize the size of the state power and make them more accountable. So, and they've had massive success over the last 10 years. It's actually quite amazing what they've accomplished. So.
Oh, that's good. So it sounds like it's libertarian with a small L then.
Yeah. Connor and I both rarely participate in candidate endorsement or political parties or anything like that. I know that Connor with Libertas, they partner with people from all walks of life and both major political parties to advance liberty, however that might be, or wherever that might come about. So, yeah.
So it's nonpartisan, the organization.
Yeah, you can definitely see that it's very radically freedom oriented, but they're not gonna, if there's an issue that a Democrat wants to help out with, they're not gonna turn them away.
That's good. You get a broad base of support, and you don't alienate anybody. That sounds good.
Yeah, we don't need to make enemies in this fight for freedom. It's just whoever wants to participate, come on board.
Sounds good. So, since it's the family, would you say the books are geared towards family? Are most of your readers of younger age, or is it something that appeals to people who are older too, that may want a simplified version of these, what people often consider thick and inaccessible economic works?
Well, we say that the reading age for the main series is 6 to 11 or something like that, and then we have our teen books are from 12 to 18 or something like that.
Okay.
But really, I've seen little kids go to sleep, like toddlers holding the books, because I think they just like the pictures, and I think they can understand that there's something grown up about the ideas in them, and I think that little kids especially like to feel like they're participating in dialogue and discussions that are big kid or adult level things. They want to be treated like intelligent people, and so I think little kids are drawn to that. But yeah, parents are always saying that they learn a lot from the books as well. So.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Someone once told me a while back. Sometimes the best way to get an introduction to a topic is to read a children's book on the topic. And that way you can learn the stuff without having to, you can get a good grasp of it right away, very quickly.
Yeah, and I one of the books especially I think does the best job of that is The Creature from Jekyll Island.
Oh, okay.
Which talk about the Federal Reserve, central banking, inflation, interest rate manipulation, and all that. So that's a very thick book. I think it's up close to 1,000 pages, maybe more. I don't know. But we've really taken a lot of that information, boiled it down to a 58-page children's book with great graphics and drawings that explain what we're talking about. So I think that it's one of the most powerful books about the Federal Reserve and central banking and fiat currency that you can get. So then when you go to tackle the actual book, you're going to have at least a vessel in your brain to accept all the information that's going to be machine gunned at you with that book. Because you're not just starting cold turkey and going to be lost after page 20,
Sure. So when you do the illustrations, are you doing them digitally or are you hand drawing them and then converting them to something?
Well, when I was a teenager, I really loved comic books, Spider-Man,
Okay.
X-Men especially. So I had this kind of like darker, I would say, more action, adventure, heroic style comic books from the 90s. So when I came to do these children's books, I wanted to reinvent a new style. So I went back to the children's books that I loved. One of my favorite artists is Stephen Kellogg, if you're familiar with him. He's a children's book author and illustrator. And also Bill Peet, who was a Disney animator who started to do children's books after his Disney career. And they were, pencil and a little bit of ink and some watercolor and colored pencil all mixed together. Very handmade looking, but super great. And I kind of wanted to do something else that was handmade looking. And the others, you'll notice a lot of books, like everything seems it seems like so polished, 3D, amazing lighting. It's made with, Adobe Illustrator or this and that, and they use these things. So I wanted to do something that looked handmade. It is all digital, but it's I tried my best to, use brushes and effects that made it look handmade. So.
Okay. So you're talking about how when you were a child you liked to do it with the comic books. Are you mostly self-taught in this skill, or did you learn it in any educational setting?
I would say that I was self-taught. I essentially failed school all through elementary school, middle school, high school, because I was just loved drawing, and I was very distracted and by it, not hardly interested in anything going on in school. So I would say I was self-taught. I did go to the Delaware College of Art and Design and the Rhode Island School of Design and got a bachelor's in animation and film. But, and I obviously learned things there going to school, but usually for someone who wants to do art, I recommend not going into a lot of debt to go do those things, because you can learn anything you want to learn on your own, online, or working in the field as an apprentice, or just get a job, work for cheap, learn the skills, build your way up, and if you work hard and you're talented, then you're going to be in a much better position after 4 years than someone that does 4 years of school.
Sounds like good advice. And you said sounds like good advice, especially with the debt issue, because I hear a lot about how college students are saddled with all this debt in this day and age.
Yeah, I was kind of sold on the idea because, well, I went into college thinking I was going to go into illustration, but the first day of college at the Delaware College of Art and Design, they said, hey, we're actually going to start an animation program. So I thought that would be interesting to just jump onto the animation side of things. It's a little bit different than illustration. It also, I did like to make movies. I like music and all the aspects of it. So I said this is kind of a combination of all my interests. So I went down the animation path instead of just straight illustration, and that turned out to be good for me because in the corporate world, animation is very popular, very needed, and a very valuable skill. So that worked out for me pretty well. But yeah, staying out of debt as an artist is, at least not going into massive amounts of debt to go to college, I think is really wise. If you really felt you had to go to college, I would recommend, as an artist, going into something else where you can apply your artistic talents and abilities to complement that. Like, so if you do science and biology and then bring your art to science and biology, kind of do that. And that's kind of what I've done with economics and politics. I had this other interest in economics and politics and history, and I started growing in that, and then I realized that I could take my art and I could join those together. So if for some reason you feel like you just have to go to college, go to a cheap college. Don't go into massive amounts of debt to go to college, but explore another interest you have, and then maybe you can marry your art and your creativity with it, and then you'll find a nice place in that field that will help you make a living with your art.
It sounds like good advice. So earlier you mentioned the website for the book. Can you say that website address again?
Yes, it's TuttleTwins.com. If you just go there, you'll see everything.
Okay. And how about for the sponsoring organization?
The which one?
Your organization. What's that?
Oh, Libertas. Yes, Libertas.org. I'm not. Let's see.
Okay.
No, it's Libertas Institute. So if you go to libertas.org, you'll see our partner company, Libertas Institute, and you can definitely see all their causes and support them. They'd be happy to take any help that you can give them or any support.
Sure. What city is the institute based out of?
Lehi, Utah is where they're based off of. They've moved outside of their influence has moved outside of Utah. They're now, I would say, a national policy group. They've won lots of national awards. They partner with a lot of liberty organizations across the country and share their policy advice, and they get a lot of work done. They're doing great.
Sure. Sounds good. All right, so you gave us those addresses so our audience can go there when they like. All right. Elijah, we thank you for coming on the podcast today and talking about your project. It's something that we haven't had anyone do anything quite like this before, so that's an interesting topic for us to discuss.
Cool. I appreciate you talking to me about it, and it's been fun.
We wish you all the best in this project, in the organization, in your personal and professional life, and all your endeavors.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew.
All right. Take care and all the best.
You too. Bye.